Is this video sponsored by Squarespace? Yes, it is. Formula One is a high-pressure, results-based environment. If you cannot step up and perform, you're probably done for. Unless you're a billionaire parent, I suppose. Going into 2023, some drivers are under more pressure than others. The reasons why varied from an exciting incoming teammate to needing to make a step up after a poor 2022. So today I want to go through the 5 drivers I think are under the most pressure going into 2023. With a bit of help from you lot who I got involved with the community post previewing this video earlier in the week. Like and subscribe to make sure that your thoughts and feelings can be involved down the line. Now let's talk about it. Number 5, Esteban Ocon. So this first pick might be a bit rogue, a bit fringe, but hear me out, because I actually think next year, of the 2 Alpine teammates, I think Esteban's under more pressure to perform, to succeed, than Pierre. Even though a bunch of you called out Gasly as a driver under pressure, and very few of you called out Esteban. I mean, Sios's reply, for example, got the second most likes of any. But look, the way I see it is when it's your very first season at a new team, there's always going to be a degree of benefit of doubt you can give compared to a well-established teammate. Esteban's going into his 4th season at that team, starting obviously as Renault and now 2 years under Alpine. If Gasly falls marginally short of Ocon by the end of the year, there's enough wriggle room, in my opinion, to somewhat exonerate him, give him benefit of the doubt. Can he afford to get battered by Esteban? No, but also it's not like Ocon's new to this game. I mean, he had his first run out in F1 machinery middle of 2016. The thing is, for Ocon, he's only just beaten his teammate for the first time ever in 5 seasons, and even then, even as a Ocon enjoyer myself, I think we can all acknowledge that Fernando was clearly the quicker and more capable driver this year, but he had like 6 technical DNFs, which was way more than anyone else. As much as I think ability-wise there's very little in it between Esteban and Pierre, they have weirdly similar careers in terms of points scored, in terms of races competed in. I think pressure is on Esteban to not let the new boy, his biggest rival in Formula One, given the drama that's gone on in the past, if Pierre comes in and beats Ocon, even by a little bit, that's not going to look good on Esteban. Look, I know Pierre had a tough time in AlphaTauri last season just gone, but when you switch teams, you've got so much more to get on top of. You've got to get to know the new personnel. You've got to get to understand this new car. And we know that talented drivers can move to teams and it doesn't always work out. Daniel Ricciardo is a prime example. In that Renault, he was on fire, goes to McLaren, and apart from the odd occasion, nowhere. Unless the classic Renault reliability gets in the way, there's no excuse for Ocon to not beat Gasly in 2023. So for me, the pressure's on him. And unfortunately for Esteban, today's video sponsor is Squarespace, the website building platform that I've trusted for many years to host my online home. And why is that a shame for him? Well, when you look at the 2 Frenchmen's very own websites, you've got to say that Gasly is a clear winner. Esteban's just stuck with a coming soon homepage, whereas Pierre's features blog posts, imagery, social links, and his own online shop. And the beauty of Squarespace is they offer all of that functionality, plus much, much more. Run email campaigns, set up members only areas, dive into the detailed analytics. It's an absolute breeze to set up, and the best thing of all is it's free of charge until you want to put your finished, beautiful, lovely website live to the world. So when that time inevitably comes around, head to squarespace.com/TommoF1 to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Get a lovely website. Be more Gasly and less Ocon. Sorry, Esteban. Sort your website out, mate. Number 4, Zhou Guanyu. A lot has been said of Zhou's rookie season because he's been the only rookie this year in part, and some say it's kind of gone under the radar a bit. I think there's been some more plaudits given since the season's ended. I feel like I've seen more prop for Zhou because Zhou's had a good season, and especially when you compare it to the rookie seasons of, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Marzipan in 2021. Zhou was able to keep it much cleaner. He was able to get his fair share of qualifying dubs against a very experienced teammate in Valtteri Bottas. And you know what? His end of a season, even though the Alfa Romeo car wasn't great, he got 3 P12 finishes in the last 4 races. It was good. It was okay. However, growth is an absolute necessity here. He's shown more competence than a Latifi. He's shown less accident proneness than a Schumacher or Tsunoda. But is that enough beyond your first season in F1? No, it isn't. Not really. That's a pretty low bar, let's be honest. Alex RT put it very well. He's had an acceptable start, but needs to show more to consolidate to cement his future in Formula 1. Reason one, and as much as he didn't win Formula 2 this just gone season, Théo Pourchaire is still incredible talent waiting in the wings. I mean, he was super unlucky this year. He seemed to have a disproportionate amount of technical gremlins compared to eventual championship winner Felipe Drugovich. I think Felipe would have still won the title if it wasn't for issues outside of his control, but it should have been a lot closer than it was. The Frenchman has super high potential. He's already well embedded into that Sauber team. He is their sole Sauber Academy driver. And another strong F2 season in 2023 where, let's be honest, he kind of does have to win it now, I think. But he's got a great chance and that will give him a fantastic opportunity. He's 4 years younger than Joey as well. Joey's not exactly old, he's 23, but Pourchaire's 19. But then reason two is where the team's going, because by 2026, that team will be Audi. No offence to Alfa Romeo, but the clout of one of the biggest German automotive manufacturers in the world coming into F1 is going to be a bigger pull and give personnel more confidence going to an Audi than an Alfa Romeo, which is a glorified title sponsorship of Sauber. Sauber Alfa Romeo is great for, Charles Leclerc, who Ferrari want him to, jump into that team and, cut his teeth in that car before moving to Ferrari. A good solid option for a driver like Valtteri Bottas, who never quite achieved what he wanted to. At Mercedes, a good option for, Kimi Räikkönen to end his career at. But since that announcement, this team has become a lot more interesting and a lot more compelling for anyone to go to. There's going to be more drivers fighting for that seat than there would have been if it remained Alfa Romeo Sauber. And that's going to mean that Joe needs to put even more work and more development in to give that team the confidence that he is the right man to take him forward. Because I say he's old compared to Pourchaire. He's still only 23, so he's got plenty of years under that lid of his. Number 3, Oscar Piastri. Do I really need to explain why Oscar Piastri might be under a little bit of pressure in his debut F1 season? Much has been made of the young Aussie and much has been made of the faith that McLaren have put into him. They saw the opportunity to snap up one of motorsport's hottest young prospects and they took it. But potential doesn't win you points, doesn't win you podiums, doesn't win you races. He's got a good amount of F1 car experience underneath him from his testing at Alpine and the testing he's been doing at McLaren more recently, but nothing substitutes from actually racing on an actual track. Chaos the Baryonyx said it right. The kid has to prove his worth given the exceptional standards set by winning Renault Eurocup, Formula 3, Formula 2 in back-to-back seasons. That's insane levels. But then when you combine that with the absolute soap opera that went down in the mid-season break, which was drama, and I love the drama. You love the drama as well, be honest, all right? You have a recipe for some extreme levels of hype and extreme levels of expectation, and rightly so. Now, is he expected to beat Lando? I don't think that's a reasonable expectation to set of Oscar because Lando is different gravy, clearly. But given this is a McLaren team with their new wind tunnel coming that desperate to be the next to break into that top 3, to give Lando a consistent car because they want to keep Lando. If they don't give Lando that car, he might not stay there forever. Plus, you've just had a driver of Daniel Ricciardo's calibre whose stock price at the end of 2020 it was up there and it's just fallen off a cliff. The expectation, the pressure, the intrigue, I'm fascinated more than any other driver on the grid to see how Oscar does, to see if he can crack the code that Daniel couldn't. And maybe being a young rookie who's, I don't know, maybe a bit more malleable in how they can take up and adopt a car. Maybe it will work better for him. Maybe it won't. With all that, yeah, there's definitely pressure on Oscar. But only the third most as far as I'm concerned. Number 2, Sergio Perez. Checo has come into that seat, right, and played a big hand in Max Verstappen winning that 2021 World Championship, won his fair share of races himself as well, and done a better job overall than his predecessors, Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly. No doubt in my mind, he's done a better job than them two. However, the delta to Max is still significant in both qualifying and in race pace. And that relationship between the two of them, as we saw in Brazil, clearly isn't quite as squeaky clean as I think most of us just assumed it would be. But it was an absolute loving at the end of 2021. This year, it just, I don't know, it's weird. Jay Lewis put it perfectly. This is exactly how I'm looking at this situation. If Ferrari and Mercedes close that gap in their car relative to Red Bull, because they're both teams have got teammate pairings within a tenth or two of each other. That makes me worry for Checo because he's that bit further. He's like 3, 4, closer to half a second off of the back. It's no good Max fighting at the front and getting pole positions if Checo's potentially qualifying P5, P6, because sometimes from a strategy point of view, you need your teammate there. Even if they're not going to throw their race to help you, it gives you options if you've got more than one driver at the front. Go long with one car and pit early with the other. That you've got that flexibility and those options. Once those other teams close up, which again, these regulations should hopefully bring the field together gradually over time. Once there's more competition at the front, to be the fastest car, to have the fastest car and the fastest teammates, I don't think Checo right now is going to be able to hold up his end of the bargain. Look, do I think Sergio Perez is any worse a driver than Carlos Sainz? No. Honestly, I don't know who I would. In neutral hardware, I think they're pretty much completely on par. However, Carlos is clearly able to get closer to the ceiling, the performance ceiling of that Ferrari, than Checo is able to get to the performance ceiling of the Red Bull. Any driver, doesn't matter who it is, if after 2 seasons are averaging 4 tenths or more off their teammate in qualifying, there is merit in asking questions, legitimate questions about their future. Sorry, Checo fans, but there is. It was the case when Pierre was his teammate. It was the case when Alex was his teammate. And as much as Checo's doing a better job, it is still the case now because it's not going to be as easy once the other teams catch up car performance-wise. Then on top of that, you cannot tell me that the introduction of Daniel Ricciardo coming back in this third driver marketing role, whatever you want to call it, that must put more pressure on Checo. Daniel Ricciardo is the only driver who's ever been able to match, if not outpace, Max Verstappen in his whole career. Yes, the most recent version of Daniel Ricciardo we've seen hasn't been that guy, but clearly environment plays a huge factor in what level of driver we get. Daniel didn't just lose all that ability he had in 2020 overnight. It just didn't happen. I mean, he still won a race in a McLaren, for crying out loud. When he got that opportunity, he was still able to take it, and you can't forget about that. And I'm sure some of you are prepping saying, well, look, Christian's been told about this. He said no. And that is correct. In fact, he said, no, Daniel's contract is very specific. We have a contract with Checo for the next 2 years. The partnership of Max and Checo has been phenomenal for us. Sure, these are words. Team principals say words. The fact he uses the word contract twice just in that quote speaks volumes to me, because he isn't dismissing it on the base of want. He's dismissing it on the base of a legally binding piece of paper. And Checo knows more than anyone else, after he got ousted from Racing Point for Sebastian Vettel, even though he had a contract, that ultimately they can be bought out. With Daniel able to take a step back in 2023 to hopefully rediscover some of that absolute passion and desperation to get back on the grid for 2024, Red Bull will also be able to get some data from Daniel, I'm sure, even if it's just on the simulator, right? And compared to the years of experience they've had with Daniel already, I mean, it was 5 years from 2014 to 2018 when he was at the team. By the end of 2023, they should have enough data to make an educated guess on both drivers as to who they think will get the most out of their current package. This is the way I'm thinking about it, right? Red Bull Racing know how to set up a car for Daniel Ricciardo to drive as quick, if not quicker, than Max Verstappen. Yes, Max isn't the same driver he was in 2017, 2018. But fundamentally, do I think Max has gained loads more pace? No, I think Max's improvement has been his consistency, his decision-making, his ability to just grind these results out and not make silly mistakes. Do I think Red Bull Racing know how to set up a car to get the most out of Checo? No, I don't think they do. I think Racing Point, Force India did, because Checo was at that team for years and years and years. So he could do a drive like Sakir with this car underneath him that he just fully understood, and the team fully understood his driving style. Number 1, Yuki Tsunoda. Yes, the driver I think is most under pressure in 2023 is the young man from Sagamihara in Japan, Yuki Tsunoda. Let's be honest here, man. These first 2 seasons of Yuki have been pretty uninspiring. In other words, forgettable, or at least the bad moments have been quite memorable, which is not a good thing. You want your good moments to be memorable, not your bad ones. Apart from his first ever race where he got points, Bahrain 2021, that was pretty memorable. I stand by the assertion that Yuki has demonstrated he has the raw pace to deserve a seat in Formula One, okay? Especially compared to last year. Qualifying dub-wise, he got way more compared to last year. He didn't out-qualify Pierre, not by any stretch, but he was much closer. And given the fact that the AlphaTauri car didn't really develop, it seemed to relatively move backwards. I can't have too much to complain about from a qualifying only point of view. He was almost whitewashed by Pierre last year. It was only right at the end at Abu Dhabi where Yuki managed to out-qualify Pierre. Look, the reality is as well, you don't score points in qualifying. The mistakes, Silverstone, you cannot take your teammate out. And at the time, they were both running in the points. They had a fantastic opportunity. Then, of course, there's Canada. I was there. I was in a position I wasn't able to actually watch trackside. I was looking at the screen on a little beach, watching Yuki come out, and I hear this and then there's obviously a delay between real life and the screen, and then you just see Yuki just go, I know it's new, cold tyres, but you cannot do that, especially when it was a beautiful day. It was so sunny. You can't blame the weather on that. And even Hungary, he spun it on his own. He ended up the race 2 laps down. Pierre was miles ahead of him in P12. Yuki got 3 L's of the weekend over the course of the season for me. He had his highs, a P8 in Bahrain, a P7 in Imola, but they feel like ages ago because they were ages ago. They were at the start of the season. And again, you can argue that AlphaTauri became a less competitive car as the season went on. But even so, when Yuki wasn't finishing the points, he was rarely finishing close. He only had 1 P11 and 1 P12 all season. Now, Alex Albon, he got 4 P12s all season. Considering he was driving that dog of a Williams is pretty impressive. And also, Alex Albon propaganda. Tick. We all know Red Bull are more than prepared to use that sister team to take a punt on someone new, someone fresh. But if Yuki doesn't convert and show and deliver on that promise that he clearly has, in 2023, his days are numbered. Lawson, Fittipaldi, Iwasa, Hauger, all with decent showings in F2 in 2022, expecting bigger things from all those drivers next year. They've just signed Zane Maloney, the 19-year-old who ran the season finale in F3 super tight this year, looked really impressive in that second half of the season. He's expected to be racing with Carlin in F2 next year. Zach Richardson said it perfectly. He needs to cement his position because gladly Red Bull will switch him for someone new if he doesn't. I really hope he pulls it off, man, because his character that he brings to the paddock is so unique, so himself. He's so real. It's really refreshing and genuine. He has to beat Nick De Vries in 2023, otherwise he's done as far as I'm concerned. He can't not beat him, and that's no disrespect to De Vries, that's no disrespect whatsoever. Yuki has had 42 F1 race starts of 44 entries. De Vries has had 1. I don't care that De Vries has won Formula E and Formula 2 and done a bunch of testing. Yuki has that experience. You're going into your 3rd season at the same team as well. If you can't step up and be the leader of that team with a rookie ultimately coming in, it's not good enough. I mean, Helmut Marko, the man who, he needs an F1 YouTube channel because he talks more than I do. He's always chatting to publications about everything. He leaked the Daniel Ricciardo 3rd driver news. But anyway, Helmut said Yuki is still young and doesn't have that experience technically, so Nick can lead the team. Judging by his experience and personality, Nick should be the team leader. That is mad that he's saying this, which, look, maybe that's Helmut's way of trying to motivate Gasly. I'm going to say something provocative, put a statement out there, I want you to prove me wrong. And for some people, that will motivate them. Not for everyone. I think that's a risky strategy to take because all human beings are different. And to some people, that would just kill their confidence. So I hope Yuki is in the prior category than the latter, you know. Yuki, mate, it's now or never. 2023 has to be your year. I really hope it is. You need to beat Nick De Vries. Show that potential that I know you have, mate. Please, come on, you can do it. Who'd I miss? Let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to reply to all the top comments within the first few hours anyway. Have some good discussions down below. Big up Squarespace for sponsoring what I do. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.